Mabuhay, and good day my fellow classmates, and especially to our instructor, Ma'am Rock. Mabuhay. First and foremost, before we formally start our reporting, please allow us to introduce ourselves. Allow me rather to introduce myself. I am Kent Bernard A. Alito, and I have my partner of mine, si James Colinar, which he will be reporting to the second topic that we're going to talk about. I am going to report first before my partner in crime will report his part of the discussion that we're going to discuss to you guys. And I hope that you will listen, even though this is just a video. I know I am hoping you to comprehend, to use your reading comprehension, and also I hope you will gain some knowledge after we discuss this to you. Okay, so let's begin to my topic, which is the West Philippine Sea. As we all know, West Philippine Sea is also known as the part of the South China Sea, which is located at the ocean from the north and from the South China Sea. That we're going to tackle all of the information, all of the issues, all of the questions. Why we are disputing the China, no? And also not just the China. When it comes sa karagatan, madami tayong competition dyan. Hindi lang sa China, kundi sa Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and at iba-iba pang mga bansa na mas malapit na sa South China Sea.
Why is China building island in the South China Sea? Well, South China Sea is incredibly rich in oil and gas. There's a lot of fishing, 11 billion barrels of oil, 190 trillion feet of natural gas, and 10% world's fishery. And most importantly, 30% of the world's shipping trade flows through here to the booming population center and economic market of the Southeast Asia. Dito dumadaan ang mga nagtitrade kagaya na lang ng Indian and the Pacific Ocean. And this is the reason why China wants to control of every islands in the exclusive economic zone. They said they will continue narrow differences and resolve disputes with others through dialogue and negotiation. For them to get enough oil and gas and trade well enough in the rest of the world, but to do that, Beijing wants to control the South China Sea. No, as you can see that China has grown rapidly of being assertiveness of it just because of the South China Sea. No, they are building islands to get enough oil and gas to trade well enough and for the rest of the world. That's why inaangkin nila yung buong karagatan. At may tinatawag din doon na ang tawag ay 9-dash line. Tinatawag nila yung 9-dash line. Not knowing that it will lead to competition, disputing other countries, like especially us in here in Philippines, diba? And the rest of the Asians, country like Taiwan, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and Indonesia. Claim to the South China Sea, dating back to a naval expedition in the 15th century, no? And they mark it using a really confusing border na tinatawag nilang 9-dash line. Following World War II kasi, nung Japan, who had dominated the entire region, lost all control of its surrounding seas, and then China used the moment to claim the South China Sea by drawing the imprecise line on the map that encompassed 90% of the South China Sea, known as the 9-dash line. No, inaangkin nila yung buong karagatan, then ang 90% ng buong karagatan sa South China Sea, which is tutol ang mga UN maritime law. Oo, kasi hindi binabase sa historic yun, binabase yun sa UN maritime law. Doon sa UNCLOS, binabasihan nila yung sa papel, hindi sa historical claim. China used cabbage strategy to block Philippine Navy. Oo, yun yung mga ginawa ng may cabbage strategy nila ngayon up until nowadays. Ngayon, alamin naman natin kung anong meron sa West Philippine Sea. West Philippine Sea ang tawag sa bahagi ng South China Sea, which is the official designation by the government of the Philippines to the parts of the South China Sea that are included in the country's exclusive economic zone. The term is also sometimes incorrectly used to refer to the entire South China Sea. Ang West Philippine Sea ay pasok sa exclusive economic zone na may ganap na kapangyarihan, which means ang ating sovereign rights na meron tayo, at pasok ito sa ating exclusive economic zone. May kapangyarihan tayong makukuha sa ating yamang dagat kasi exclusive sa atin nga. May sovereign rights tayo. May kapangyarihan tayo na nakukunin natin because binabase natin ito sa exclusive economic zone ng Pilipinas. Hindi kagaya ng South China Sea na igiit na 90% sa kanila daw ang South China Sea. Ano ba si exclusive economic zone? Malalaman natin yan sa next slide. Exclusive Economic Zone or EEZ. It is an area of the ocean, generally extending 200 nautical miles beyond a nation's territorial sea, within which a coastal nation has a jurisdiction over both living and non-living resources. So, it is our sovereign rights. But any area that isn't for a EEZ is regarded as international water and it falls to UN maritime law, which is the UNCLOS, the United Convention, the law of the sea, means everybody shares to it. If, for example, if the Philippines have any oil found at 200 nautical miles off the Coast Guard in the Philippines, it is exclusively belongs to the Philippines. Ito ay makikita sa picture ang bawat exclusive economic zone ng iba't ibang bansa. At yung international law na sinasabi ko na belong na sa maritime UN law ay yung may naka-gray sa gitna ng South China Sea. Ito yung international water na belong na sa UN maritime law, which is everybody shares to it. Beijing asserts that Manila is intruding into its waters and maintains that is demonstrating maximum restraint. So yung China pa talaga ang nanggigiit na ang Manila daw ay nangihimasok sa sarili nating tubig. Sila nga itong nangihimasok sa ating exclusive economic zone na pasok sa ating sa West Philippine Sea. Despite a 2016 ruling, China claims Manila is intruding into its water and has referred Manila is now exploring alternative means of provisioning its outpost, including airdrop of closer U.S. naval escort. The shoal and other features such as Discover Shoal, that is land, are also sources or if tension and large-scale confrontation could potentially steer nationalist sentiments and heighten threat perceptions on both sides. The bilateral consultative mechanism designed in 2017 has generated no result and efforts to create a code of conduct have stagnated. So, on May 4, Chinese Coast Guard vessels fire water cannons sa Philippine resupply vessels. At yan yung tinatawag nila na cabbage strategy para wala talagang pumupunta sa kanila na ginigit nila na sa kanila daw yung Spratly Islands. Malalaman natin yan mamaya. China's assertiveness in the sea has grown in recent years with Beijing's territorial dispute taking a turn for the worse in 2012. Tensions continue in the form of regular standoffs between the country's coast guard and Chinese vessels, with Filipino fish port struggling to reach their traditional fishing grounds in Manila, unable to exploit the precious oil and gas reservation within its exclusive economic zone. Ang panggigiit ng China ay tumataas na talaga, nung much worse nung 2012 na ginagawa nila ay yung cabbage strategy. Tension at continue and form of regulation standoffs between countries Coast Guard and China. Binablock nila yung mga Chinese Coast Guard ng Philippines to prevent para dili makakuha og oil and gas ang ato ang Filipino. And also the Filipino fish nag-struggle pud sila sa pag-fishing. It's because ang mga Chinese Coast Guard ay nagbantay sa South China Sea. Grabe, up until nowadays, grabe yung paggigiit ng China para lang mapasa kanila yung South China Sea ng buong karagatan. Not knowing na nakakasakit na sila ng mga Filipino Navy. Kumakalat sa buong mundo ang issue sa pagpa-fire ng water cannons towards the Philippines resupply vessels. No? Yung issue na yon sa May 4, kumakalat iyon. Dahil sa panggigit ng China sa atin. Pwede namang i-share ito sa ibang bansa. Pero kung sobra-sobra ang laman o anong meron tayo sa ating EEZ. Ang kaso ng Pilipinas, hindi ito sobra. Kulang ito sa bawat Pilipino na nanghahanap buhay. Kagaya na lang doon sa Palawan na hindi sila fishing kasi iginigiit kasi nandun ang mga Chinese Coast Guard nakabantay sa ating exclusive economic zone. At isa na rin yung dahilan dito, hindi rin sila makakukuha ng precious oil and gas para sa ating exclusive economic napasok sa ating exclusive economic zone. And that will bring us to the Spratly Islands na pasok sa exclusive economic zone ng Pilipinas. Ito ang Spratly Islands, also known as Kalayaan Island Group sa Pilipinas.
Spratly Islands located at north of insular Malaysia and are roughly midway between Vietnam and Philippines. Now, who controls the Spratly Islands nowadays? China, Taiwan, and Vietnam all claims the islands in their entirety while portions are claimed by Malaysia and the Philippines. No? Sa atin, tayo kasi puso't diwa natin sinishare yung Spratly Islands. Portion lang natin yon. Hindi natin inaangkin ang buong islands. While ang China, Taiwan, Vietnam, they claim it entirely. Nasa kanila iyon. Si Malaysia and Philippines, they choose it at a portion. They pinili natin of peace over dispute. Kaya ganyan tayo. Despite the Spratly Islands naturally consisting of 9 islands, according to Chinese 86 sources and 1986 source, the Spratly Islands consist of 14 islands or islets, 6 banks, 113 submerged reefs, 35 underwater banks, and 21 underwater shows.
Dito makikita kung saan ang ating islands ay pasok sa exclusive economic zone. May iba't ibang kulay dyan na pinapakita sa picture. Kung hindi nyo makikita, paumanhin. Pero i-send ko na lang yung pic kung hindi nyo makikita. According sa Konstitusyon ng Pilipinas, Article 7, Section 2, all lands of the public domain, waters, minerals, coal, petroleum, and other mineral oils, all forces of potentially energy, fisheries, forest, or timber, wildfire, flora, and fauna, and other natural resources are owned by the state. So atin talaga, pagmamay-ari talaga natin yon, and our sovereign rights. Pero what makes China na hindi sa atin ay iginigiit nila na sa sarili nilang historical claims. Hindi natin sila masisisi dahil ganyan yung mga ugali nila. Kung ang China ay bumabase sa kanilang historical claims, well, hindi lang sila ang may basihan dyan. Mayroon din tayong historical claims, hindi lang sa papel. Hindi lang tayo sa papel bumabase. May historical claims din tayo na pagbabasehan natin sa kanila. Ito yung historical legal basis of claims ng ating sa Pilipinas. The Philippine claims the Kalayaan Island Group, which it claims was terra nullius after Japan renounced its title at the Francisco Treaty of Peace of 1951. No, in 1951 pa. Next, in 1956, Filipino explorer Thomas Cloma declared ownership over 333 maritime features in the Spratly Islands, indicating no other countries had a valid claim. No, si Thomas Cloma ay yung nag-declared sa ownership over 33 times. Next to that, in the 1978, President Ferdinand Marcos issued a decree listing 3 bases for the Philippines' legitimate rights for the territory, contiguity with the Philippine archipelago, historic title, and lapsing of others' claim. In 2009, the legislative I confirmed the Philippines' baseline to the 1982 UN Convention of the Law of the Sea, limiting its claim to territorial waters around the islands. Next, in 1988, the Philippines claims that title to Scarborough Shoal passed from the Spain to the United States. July 1971, President Ferdinand Marcos recognized a freedom land government under the head of State Thomas Cloma. Ito yun na yun. Nirecognize na ng ating dating Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos. April sa 1972, the Kalayaan Islands officially become part of province of Palawan. Remember that. Remember this. December 1974, Thomas Cloma surrendered all claims to freedom land to the state, which is sinurrender niya na dito yun sa UN Convention on Law. This is a summary of claims of the Philippines. The Philippines claims the Kalayaan groups and the Scarborough Shoal, while Malaysia claims part of the Kalayaan Island. China and Taiwan claim the entire island group, including Scarborough Shoal, which is patrolled by China Maritime Law Enforcement. The 9-dash line overlaps with the Philippines Economic Zone, Exclusive Economic Zone, and Continental Shelf. Ang Scarborough Shoal ay bahagi na rin sa West Philippine Sea na makikita mo dyan sa ibabaw ng West Philippine Sea, malapit lang sa Manila. Ito naman ang BRP Sierra Madre. Ito ay makikita sa gitna ng Palawan, malapit lang sa Palawan, which is makikita mo rin sa Spratly Islands. BRP Sierra Madre, ito ang isang LT-57 LST 542 class tank landing ship that is an active duty commissioned vessel under the Philippine Navy. Ito ay pasok pa rin sa exclusive economic zone ng Pilipinas. At ito naman ang island, Spratly Islands in the West Philippine Sea, na pasok sa exclusive economic zone. The Senco Island, San Kay, Flat Island, Loeta Island, Taiping, and Scarborough Shoal. Sa kalagitnaan ng pangbubuli ng China sa ating West Philippine Sea, may ginawa ba tayo dyan? Oo, may ginawa tayo. Noong January 2013, Philippines filed an arbitral case under the UNCLOS Dispute Settlement Clause. The filing asked arbitrators to declare China's 9-dash line unlawful, to rule and that uncertain maritime features are low-tide elevators without rights to territorial sea. So lumabas sa hatol ang base na nakasaad sa UNCLOS na hindi daw basihan ang historic claims ng mga China. At ang pag-dispute at ang pag-file ng arbitral case under sa UNCLOS ng Pilipinas ay successful naman. Pero tumututol pa rin ang China. Napakatigas talaga ng ulo nila. Up until now, kahit may case na sila doon sa United Convention the Law of the Sea, patuloy pa rin nilang inaangkin ang ating sariling karagatan. Pero may ginawa ba ang Philippines para mahinto ang panggigiit ng mga Chinese sa atin dito sa West Philippine Sea? Of course, meron. Sa last slide, makikita mo kung paano inieksamay ng Manila ang West Philippine Sea. Examining Manila's contemporary West Philippine Sea. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has proposed a military presence in the South China Sea to defend its waters in a long-running dispute with China. Marcos, son of the autocrat, is leading in opinion polls ahead of May 9 election and it's aiming to complete remarkable rebranding of the family name 36 years after a people power. Uprising ended his father's rule. In the first televised debate of the campaign, Marcos floated the idea of deploying Navy ships or Coast Guard vessels and disputed the strategic waterway to allow fishermen to fish freely. He will not prioritize a military resolution to the South China Sea dispute and will continue the correct approach of pursuing a policy engagement with China. The Reuters, February 15, 2022. So ito sa ginawa ni President Ferdinand Marcos, nag-propose siya ng ng military presence in the South China para sa South China Sea. Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is enhancing sovereignty and rights by expanding strategic options through external partnership and policy recalibration in the West Philippine Sea. So ito yung paraan na ginawa ng ating president na si Ferdinand Marcos Jr. However, concern arise about the long-term sustainability of this strategy given potential outcomes in the 2028 election and Donald Trump's election in the US. Well, in general, Manila faces the challenge of maintaining security in the West Philippine Sea amid China's expansionist and belligerent policies. Since 2008, Beijing has deployed its Navy, Coast Guard, and maritime militia and militarized artificial islands violating international law, which is, they called it, cabbage strategy. Manila has adopted a multi-dimensional West Philippine Sea strategy, framing the issue through a people-centric lens and focusing on maintaining the Indo-Pacific's maritime domain. This defense-oriented strategy aims to improve maritime security capabilities and maintain open communication with Beijing. However, Marcos Jr. administration must address historical inconsistencies and ensure long-term continuity for the Filipino people and Manila partners, the diplomat May 1, 2024. And that is all about the issue of the West Philippine Sea. And the next reporter, we're going to report about the UNCLOS, what is UNCLOS and ITLOS. Stay tuned everyone, and I hope you will listen to the next reporter, which is report by James Polinar.
Mabuhay po sa inyo. Ako nga po pala si James Polinar from the Philippines. Ang aking tatalakay ngayon ay patungkol sa freedom of the high seas. Ano ba ang freedom of the high seas? Ang freedom of the high seas, ito po ay itong matataas na karagatan na pinapahayag ng UNCLOS. Ano ba ang UNCLOS, everyone? Ang UNCLOS ay ito po ay isang United Nations Conventions of the Law of Sea. Ano ba mga artikulo o mga batas na ginawa ng UNCLOS? Ang mga artikulong ginawa ng mga UNCLOS, ito po ay the oceans by defining the rights and obligations of the states parties. Sila po ang may karapatan at nag-obligate sa kanilang mga karagatan. Dahil po maraming tao o bansa ang gustong pumasok ng walang lisensya at walang mga titulo or mga papel na ipinapakita sa kanila. Dahil kinakailangan po ng isang bansa na mag-obligate and may karapatan kung pwede ba kayo pumasok in that place nang meron po kayong hawak ng mga titulo. Kaya the United Nations Conventions of the Law of Sea, gumawa sila ng law about sa karagatan na dapat talagang may humawak dito sa karagatan dahil para matustusan ang mga kinukuha or mga kayamanan ng isang bansa. Katulad na lamang dito sa Pilipinas, patuloy nang kinukuha ang ating mga kayamanan dahil kinukuha na ng mga Chino or mga China ang ating mga kayamanan, which is ang West Philippine Sea. Dahil po dito ay patuloy nang nawalan tayo ng konsensya or patuloy na tayong binababa ng isang bansang China dahil wala tayong lakas or wala tayong maibubuga dito dahil wala tayong barya na ipapakita sa kanila. Pero in that places, patuloy na lumalaban ang Pilipinas para makuha lamang ang West Philippine Sea. Dapat talaga the United Nations Convention of the Law of Sea dapat may karapatan at nag-obligate. The freedom of the high seas include navigations, overflight, civilian and military aircraft also, lay submarines, cables, and pipelines, conduct of scientific research, constructions of artificial islands, and other institutions allowed by the international law, and fishing or fisheries also. This is the freedoms na ginabuhat ng United Nations Conventions Law of Seas. And also know sa mga states have the duties relative to the high seas, such as the duty to render assistance, prohibitions of the transport of slaves, duty to cooperate in the submarinations of illicit traffic and narcotic drugs or psychotropic substance. So sa mga estado ay may tungkulin na may kaugnayan sa mga karagatan tulad ng tungkulin na magbigay ng tulong. So, and also for the right of the merchant ship to travel any water except territorial waters, either in a peace or war. Pwede ka pong umikot sa iyong mga teritorya ng mga karagatan, either lamang or except lamang sa mga ibang bansa na
gusto nila ng war na binabawalan sa kanila na umikot sa kanilang lugar dahil maapektuhan ng kanilang economic zone also. That one an example of the freedom of the high sea. So, we're going to proceed na po sa ating mga artikulo na ginawa ng United Nations Conventions of the Law of Sea. First article is the number 86. It is the applications of the provisions of this part. These provisions of this part apply to all parts of the sea that are not included in the exclusive economic zone. This is the ang pag-iwas ng nilalapat ng dagat na merong economic zone. Ano ba economic zone, everyone? Ang economic zone, ito po ang nagsiseparate ng economic area with an investment and business. The another article is number 87. This is the freedom of the high seas. First, the high seas are open to all states, whether coastal or landlocked. Freedom of the high seas is exercised under the condition laid down by these conventions and by other laws of international law. So this article po ay dito po natin malalaman kung freedom pa ang ating mga karagatan within our Pacific Ocean and our Atlantic Ocean. For it comprises inter alia both for coastal and landlocked states. A is freedom of navigation. Yes, very talaga na siya na questions. Ang freedom of navigation, it is the straight baselines uphold the right. Important talaga ang freedom of navigation because here are some of the country or bansa na kanang dili dyan sila magpasuod o another country kanang sa ilang territory lamang talaga magpaikot-ikot. But we need the United Nations Conventions of the Law of Sea is kanang ginaupin na nila para maging patas ang tanan and then makasuod sila kung say need nila for rest places. So that one of the example or that one of the first naging ng Article 87 ang freedom of navigation. Secondly is the freedom of overflight. The freedom of overflight, the right to fly over a foreign country without landing. Yes, very important jud siya because dapat freedom jud ang overflight para dali ng pag-abot ng aeroplane. Thirdly is the freedom to lay submarine cables and pipelines. Yes, this is the independent operation underwater or mga hose para mabilis ang paghanap or pagtakbo ng submarine. Kaya nang bilisan dyan ng very important dyan na siya. For like example, for the Philippines to Taiwan, kaya nang ginahos nila kaya para madali na kung para in the map para mabilis na no pagtakbo ng submarine or diretsuhan na sila. Fourthly is the freedom to construct artificial islands and other installations permitted under the international law. So para mag-grow ang economic growth no or kanang mga dapit na sa dagat ang ila business para mag-grow na siya, then one of the examples of freedom of the high sea naman kinakailangan ng kalayaan para matustusan or kinakailangan nila ng kapangkabuhayan ng isang bansa like the economic area or economic zone. Fifthly is the freedom of fishing, the subject to the condition laid down section 2. Yes, very sabotable na dyan na siya about the freedom of fishing. No? So kinakailangan dyan na siya within our country para matustusan ang ating pangkabuhayan. And lastly is the freedom of scientific research, the subject to the part 4 and subject to like that. Yes, very talaga siya kanang mag-conduct in this seas kanang unsay history, unsay naadiri, kanang magkuan sila unsay naadira, kanang very important jud na siya ang freedom of scientific research. Article number 87, number 2, this freedom shall be exercised by all states with due regard for the interests of other states in their exercises of the freedom of the high seas, and also with due regard for the rights under the convention with respect to activities in the area. So open to all states, yes, mapakostal man yan or landlocked, pero dapat may respect din siya within their territory or tag-iya yaon na dagat. And for the article number 88, the reservations of the high seas for peaceful purposes. The high seas shall be reserved for peaceful purposes. Need nila ng mga peaceful purposes no states ang bara or magsamok-samok kung dili nila ng teritoryo na siya. In Article number 89, invalidity of claims of sovereignty over the high seas. No state may validity purport to subject any part of the high seas to its sovereignty. So the Article 89, same with 88, patas ang ila diri. Walay paki nila sa article or Roman, that's why na ay sovereignty. The article number 90, right of navigation. Every state whether coastal or landlocked has the right to steal ships flying sa flag on the high seas. Kung ang right ng navigation, walang kalayan ng ating karagatan. Pag kung freedom jud ang ato navigation, may kalayan ng ating karagatan. Depended within the governments, politic, or societies. So we are here for the International Tribunal for the Law of Sea. So what is the International Tribunal for the Law of Sea? The United Nations Convention Law of Sea created ITLOS, which means International Tribunal for the Law of Sea. So, the consistence with the 21 judges elected by the member state with a system in the place to ensure their geographic balance. So, it is the law of sea is a body of customs, treaties, and international agreements by which governments maintain order, productivity, and peaceful relationship on the sea. The purpose of ITLOS or International Tribunal for the Law of Sea, it is the conventions establishes a comprehensive legal framework to regulate all ocean space, its uses and resources. It is the convention also relating the prompt release of ships and their crews that are arrested or that detained in a foreign port. So the jurisdictions of the tribunal comprises of all disputes and applications submitted to its in accordance with the UNCLOS and all matters specifically provided for in any other agreements which confers jurisdictions on the tribunal. So what is jurisdictions on tribunal? Ang jurisdiction ay ang maaaring tukuyin bilang ang limitasyon ng isang judicial na autoridad o ang lawak kung saan maaaring gamitin ng korte ang batas na autoridad dito sa mga demanda, kaso o apela. ITLOS or International Tribunal for the Law of Sea. It is an intergovernmental organization created by the mandate of the Third United Nations Conference on the Law of the Sea. It was established by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, signed at Montego Bay, Jamaica on December 10, 1982. The convention entered into force on November 16, 1994 and established an international framework for law overall open ocean space, its use and resources. The ITLOS is one of the four dispute resolution mechanism listed in Article 287 of the United Nations Convention Law of the Sea in APSA 2011 Annual Meeting Paper American Political Science Association.